Harihi Om Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Parampara Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripatamaham Vande Paramananda Madhavam. Om. Okay, so we are in the seventh shloka of the first chapter in Bhagavad Gita. The shloka goes like this: Asmakam tu vishishtaye tan niboda dvijottama nayaka mama sainyasya sanyartam tan bravimite. So in this shloka, the words are like this: Asmakam, on our side, tu is and, it's just a conjunction here. Vishishtaha ye tan. Right? So, Vishishtaha means those who are very special. Vishishta, it's a pretty common word. Tan e means those who are. Nibodha means listen to. Context is Duryodhana telling Dronacharya that on our side as well, there are specific peoples that I would like to just call out for you. Vijottama, he is referring to Dronacharya. In terms of the traditions of caste, Dronacharya is a Brahman. The term Vijaha is also used to represent a Brahman. We have seen it in a different context, which is based on the Manusmriti. We have the derived Shloka, which is Janmana Jayate Shudraha, right? Samskarat Vipraha, Vedam Patanat Dvijaha. So that is the thing that Dvijaha is generally used in the tradition. However, as a colloquial use, Dvijaha is also used for the caste called as Brahman. And hence he is called Dvijottama, one who is extremely respected among the Dvijaha. Nayakaha, heroes, mama sainyasya, in my army. We will pay attention here. Asmakam, on our side. Whereas here, mama sainyasya, in my army. Sanyartham, it is just for the namesake I am telling. It is not that Dronacharya doesn't know who they are, but for the namesake he is telling. Tan bravimi, those names, tan, those, which is contextually the names, bravimi, I will tell them to you, which is stay. So, as I said, the words are always a little jumbled in a shloka, and unjumbling it, Duryodhana continues to say, and for the name's sake, let me tell you about our side as an information. Oh, the best of the Brahmins, those especially powerful heroes or the warriors who are my soldiers, who are in my army, is the basic translation of the shloka. If you pay attention, as I was calling it out, mindset of Duryodhan can be looked in this place. Here, the Mamakaratvam, which is a sense of proprietorship, and ego, which is Ahankara or Ahambhava, that manifests in Duryodhana. He starts with a gentle way of Asmakam, but ends up with Mama, my army. We should also take into consideration that perhaps it is coming genetically because Dhritarashtra also uses Mamakaha, my sons. So that proprietorship, that extension of I, which is limited to my territory only, that kind of a mindset can be seen reflected here. This sense of proprietorship pushes the ego and distracts you from your focus, from your attention, from your objective, right? You become more subjective. And remember this, whenever your approach is subjective, you will only end up in conflicts. This is across. You go in your organization where you're working, in your leadership positions, or upwards, or the people whom you are managing, no matter in which hierarchy you look at it. When you go in a subjective point of view, you will always end up in conflicts. On the other hand, when you are objective centric, no matter how difficult the situation is, you will find that a solution to your problem can very easily be found. So this is something that one has to keep in mind. The proprietorship develops a tunnel vision because you always think in terms of whether it is benefiting me or not whether the solution is found. Because of that tunnel vision, it is always the adharma that you will end up in committing. And hence it is said that ahambhava and the mamakaara is the seed to adharma. Now, Ahankara is a little different. It is considered to be an antakarana. So when we talk of antakarana, we'll talk a lot about it in this chapter 2, etc. So basically, we talk in terms of sukshma sharir, which is made of pranan, the 5 karmendriyas, the 5 jnanendriyas, then chittam, manam, buddhi, and ahankara. The ahankara is in psychology classified as id, ego, and superego. Right? It is together taken as ahankara. Ahankara is inevitable. You cannot be without that ahankara. The problem is when this ahankara turns into an ahambhavam, an expression of that being the truth. That is the difference. Ahankara is the association of I, as in the association of this Atma and Anatma into this body. That identification is Ahankara. You cannot but have it. On the other hand, when you start putting a truth into that Ahankara, it expresses itself as this is the I. That makes it as Aham Bhavam. Bhavam is an expression. Right. So ahankara is different, ahambhavam is different. This ahambhavam and mamakaratvam, it's mine kind of a situation. They are the seed to adharma. Now, this is another expression, or this is also considered to be a seed for fear. Okay, and we will see that in the 10th shloka, where despite having a much larger army, he would say that my army is not sufficient, whereas their army is sufficient. So that kind of a fear factor can develop into you because of the same ahambhava which is coming out of you as an expression. So keep in mind that whenever your mind is having conflicts, check and you will see that there is an expression of ahambhava somewhere hidden. On the other hand, if you find that your ahambhava is getting expressed, be very careful and ensure that it is not manifesting into adharma. So you have to be aware both ways. So develop that ability to evaluate and correct yourself as soon as you can with a clarity of what is ahambhava and what is ahankara. Don't get confused between the two. Right. And there will be few mistakes. There will be places where you error. Sometimes you will identify it with the results, which is you will know that you endure some samsara. You go through some vikshepa in your mind. You become unsettled, etc. Whenever that happens, remember there is an expression of ahambhava somewhere hidden in you. On the other hand, with your own meditation and with your own self-awareness, with your own mindfulness, which is a newly used term in terms of, or it has been there for a few years now, in terms of meditation, that mindfulness, when you practice, you can identify the Ahambhava even before it starts expressing itself and yielding the bad results. But either way, exercise should be practiced, and there will be a time when you will be free of that Ahambhava, which means you will always be objective in nature. Going on to the next shloka, the shloka number 8. Bhavan bhishmasya karnascha kripascha samitinjayah ashwathama vikarnascha saumadhistastathaiva cha. Now, there are some traditions which use this shloka with different words. In the second line, Ashwathama Vikarnascha Saumadattarjayadratha is the way that they put it. Right. So they add another person by name Jayadratha into this shloka. But we include Jayadratha as part of Evacha and others. That is the way. Saumaditha and others is the way this shloka goes. Whereas the other traditions, they put Jayadratha as a name. Right. We have Jayadratha as part of the others, and we will go into it. So here, Bhavan Bhishmascha. Bhavan is you, as in referring to Dronacharya, and Bhishmaha cha, Bhishma Pitama. The cha is and. Karnascha, and Karna. Samitinjayah, always victorious in battle. On top, he says Ashwathama. Ashwathama is the son of Dronacharya and very dear to Dronacharya. His mother is Kripi, and Ashwathama is considered to be born with a gem on the forehead. He has invincibility against hunger, thirst, and fatigue. He uses Narayana Astra, to which surrender is the only means, and that's what they follow. And there are two major sins that he commits. One is the night assault on the 18th day of the war, after Pandavas have won. He uses Brahmastra, and it is countered by Arjuna using the Brahmastra as well. When Lord Krishna approaches both of them and asks them to withdraw the Brahmastra, Arjuna obediently withdraws it. However, he would not. Ashwathama will not withdraw it. And because it would have been against all the surviving Pandavas kind of a stuff, Lord Krishna comes in to save. And what he does is, for Parikshit, he will save him in his womb. But because of this astra, the child is still born. However, when he comes out, when the child comes out, Lord Krishna will use his toe to touch the child. And he will say, if it is true that I have never spoken a lie, right, let the child come to life. And the child will come to life. Right? And we know there are so many places where he would have spoken a lie. Right? Yet, that's a different story. It is part of Bhagavatam. We will not go there. But when this happens, Lord Krishna curses him that he will lose the gem which is on his forehead, and he will roam the earth as an immortal forever. He is already an immortal. He is considered one of the Chiranjeevis. So he is cursed by Lord Krishna, and that is what is the end of Ashwathama in Mahabharata. Vikarna is one of the brothers, right? He is considered to be only noble brother among the Kauravas. Now, he will be the person who would have objected to the humiliation of Draupadi, even though her own husbands will be keeping quiet. He will be the only one to speak up. right? Vidura is another, but we will talk about Vidura in a later point in time. Among the brothers, he is the only one who speaks up against this particular injustice. Vikarna dies in the hands of Bhima. We will talk about it later. Then Saumad, Saumadatta. Saumadatta is, is the son of Somadatta. Then hence is called as Saumadatta, right? And then we say Evacha. The other one that I said is Jayadratha. Then we go into it. For this shloka, we will look at Karna. Karna was the eldest of the Pandavas. Karna was born to son and Kunti Devi. And Kunti Devi wraps up the newborn and let go of him in the Ganges. Athirath, who will be the chariot of Dhritarashtra, he sees the baby, and he and his wife Radha will take Karna as their child, and they will start raising him. Once Karna was born, Athirath will let go of his job, and that is when Sanjaya, who is also from the same clan as Athirath, will become the charioteer of Dhritarashtra. Sanjaya, you should know, he was a minister as well. So it is not, he was a counselor, he was an advisor, he was a very respected man. But because of his honesty, truthfulness, and his ability with chariots, he was made the charioteer as well. Unlike Athirath, who was purely a charioteer for Dhritarashtra. For Karna, what we all know is he was born with Kavach and Kundal. He had a great ability to bear pains. Right? That's what happens when he goes as a student, right, with his Acharya, Parashurama, sleeping on his lap. When he is being bit, he totally, silently bears the pain. That is when he realizes that this is not a, uh, non-Kshatriya, so he will stop teaching kind of a stuff. So he is considered to be one among the great. He has won several battles, and he was known for his ability to give charity, Danam. To date, Karna, whenever somebody talks of his ability to make charity, is considered to be the highest. When he faces a humiliation in Hastinapur, he will be made the king of Agada by Duryodhan. And because of that, he becomes one who is indebted to Duryodhan for life. Now, Karna's greatness will be seen in several places. Before the war comes, Krishna goes to Karna, revealing him the secrets of his birth, and offers Indraprastha, as in, instead of Yudhishthira becoming the king, you will become the king. But Karna said, it is more important that I honor the thankfulness, the gratitude that I have towards Duryodhan and the promise I have for him, rather than take this up. When Karna was on the deathbed, Krishna takes Arjuna to Karna to show why even Krishna was very sad when Karna was downed. Right. So the way that it goes, we all know the story. He goes and says, hey, give me something for as a charity, as a dhan. And they take the form of a Brahmin and go. And he says, I don't have anything to give you. And they remind him that, hey, he has a golden tooth. So he removes his golden tooth and he says, hey, this is all full of blood. How can I accept it as a Brahmin? He will wipe it with his tears and give it. That is a very touching kind of incident in Mahabharata. That is again to express the greatness of Karna. On the 16th day, he actually defeats Nakul and Sahadev, but he will spare their life because of the promise he would have made to Kunti that among the Pandavas, he will only kill Arjuna. So that was again another greatness. But despite all the greatness, there are two big adharmas that he commits. The first thing is on the simultaneous attack on Abhimanyu, When Abhimanyu did not have any defense of his own, he falls a prey to Shakuni's plot of how to down Abhimanyu, and he takes part in the slaying of Abhimanyu. That is one of the worst of the sins that Karna would have committed. He sides with Duryodhan and Dushasan during the disrobing of Panchali. This is again not something that a Kshatriya would ever do. Kshatriya is who has a Rajasic Swabhav with Sattvic mindset, who always stands and protects Dharma. This one was totally a bad one. And there he stood with Duryodhan, which is again considered to be a big dishonor on the side of Karna. Anyway, going into the shloka number 9. Anye cha bahava shura madharte tyakta jivitaha nana shastra praharanaha sarve yuddha visharadaha. So here, anye cha bahavaha shuraha. I did not use evacha and others to list the other heroes because I was reserving it for this shloka. Anyecha and also bahavaha shuraha. Right, bahavaha in great numbers, shuraha, those who are heroic and brave fighters. Mat arte, madarte becomes mat arte. For my sake, tyakta jivitaha. They are prepared to let go of their life. Nana shastraha, many and various kinds of weapons, praharanaha, equipped with, sarve yuddha visharadaha. All of them are very well trained and experienced in the military science or the warfare. That is the core essence of this shloka. Now, when we were covering the previous shloka, we want to look at the others, the ones who have not been named, and some of them who are very important, we will try to identify. The first one is Dushasana. He is the second eldest of the Kaurava brothers. In Mahabharata, only these two have been identified as 1 and 2. If you want to look up Vikarna, we don't know. There are some who say he was the third, or there are some who says we don't know. As per the original text of Mahabharata, we do not know what is the sequence of those, the rest of the 98 children in the order. But we have the names of all of them, right? But it is not ordered saying he was first, second, third, and so on. And that too, given the nature of how they were born, it is very difficult to establish as well. So makes absolute sense. He was one of the Maharathas, which is one of the, he was leading one Akshuhini by himself. He is very known for bringing Draupadi or to the court and humiliating her. Dushasana was killed by Bhima on the 16th day of the war. Jayadratha, his so the king of Sindhu and the spouse of Dushala. Dushala is the only sister of the Kauravas. What happens with Jayadrath is he attempts an abduction of Draupadi when the Pandavas were in exile. The Pandavas capture him, and Yudhishthir says we should not harm. At the end of the day, he is a brother-in-law. So we should not harm him. We should let go. So what the other Pandavas do is they will, shave his head, which is considered to be a great insult for a Kshatriya, and they send him back. Humiliated by the defeat in the hands of Pandavas, as well as being further humiliated with a shaved head, he goes and he does a big tapasya with Lord Shiva. When Lord Shiva appears, he requests that he should be able to defeat the Pandava army, and Krishna is there, Lord Shiva says. And with Krishna on the side of Pandavas, it is not possible for him to ever defeat Pandavas. So he says, well, if that is the case, can you at least give me a day when I can hold them back in the war? And he says, yes, that boon is granted. He uses that boon on the 13th day, preventing the Pandavas from following Abhimanyu into the Chakravyuha. And that is the reason Arjuna says he is going to kill Jayadratha the following day, or he will self-immolate and he will, what do you say, die. So all the things happen where Lord Krishna tries to hide or create a sunset and then make the sun come again, right? Creating that illusion in which he kills, right? Jayadratha also has a boon to say that anyone, right, who is killing Jayadratha or becomes the cause of the death of Jayadratha, the fall of Jayadratha, will become the, will also die, will also burst into pieces. Right. So the way that it is done is he shoots a arrow which carries the head all the way and puts it on the father's lap, kind of a thing. There is a story there around that also. But that is what is Jayadratha. Kritivarma, right? He is from Yadukul. Again, he was considered one among the 11 commander-in-chiefs, or one among the 11 Akshuni's head, Akshuni's head, chief, right? He assisted Jayadratha in preventing the remaining Pandavas in coming in. That is the biggest of the role that Kritivarma is shown to play. He assisted Ashwathama in the killing of the Pandava army. So towards the end, Kritivarma is also, he doesn't die, but him and Ashwathama, and I forgot the third person who comes. Yeah, it will come to my mind, I'll tell you. Right. So those will be the one who will plot the night, raid and kill so many people in the Pandava camp. Right. He survives the war and dies towards the end during the Yadava's internal conflict. So Lord Krishna, he will be given a shrap by Gandhari, Duryodhan's mother, right? That you have been the cause of the downfall of this entire kul. So similarly, your kul will also go. And when great people give a shrap, it will eventually take place, is again a form that we always follow. And Kritivarma becomes the cause, or one among the cause, of the entire kul falling down. So that's again a bit difficult story. Shalya. Shalya was the king of Madra, a very powerful kingdom, right? Madri was the mother of Nakul and Sahadev. Right? He was the second wife of Pandu. Shalya is always considered great for standing with Dharma. Right? He was a great charioteer as well. He comes all the way from Madra to support Pandava in the war. However, Duryodhan intercepts him and he will make Shalya to commit to fighting on the side of Kauravas. Right. So he, in Kshatriya, once you have made a promise, you will stand by the promise. It is not the other kind of grounds that you hold. The dharma being held, in which upkeep of promise is considered to be one among the strongest, one among the most important dharma, is something that is very strictly followed by Kshatriyas. And he maintains that promise, and so he joins Kaurava's side. And he will be very upset with the way, what do you say, Bhishma is killed or Dronacharya is killed. For he will see that it is a wrong being done. Drupad, for example, that is also something that he would not like. He is a person who is quoted in a lot of places in the war, right? Particularly in uh, all the parvas from Bhishma Parva all the way down to the end before the Shanti Parva. It is the entire places you will see a lot of instances where Shalya is quoted. He was given a lot of prominence in that. One of the key roles that he played was he was the charioteer of Karna, right, on the 17th day, and he was made as the commander in chief on the 18th day. He was killed in the war by Yudhishthira on the 18th day. Shakuni, we all know, prince of Gandhara, brother of Gandhari, uncle of Kauravas. He was known for his intelligence and manipulative skills. And he had a very, very deep hatred towards Kuru dynasty. Shakuni was one among the many sons of King Shubhala, and from the tales and some Mahabharata, King Shubhala and the rest of the Gandhara royal family were imprisoned by Dhritarashtra, and they were starved. The tale goes, it is not as per Mahabharata, the tale goes that the family dies of starvation, but they manage to save Shakuni. He vows the destruction of Hastinapur, and he uses Duryodhan as a pawn to accomplish it. As I said, this is not Mahabharata, this is more from the tales that are around Mahabharata in various places. We know Shakuni's role in the game of dice, right? He was the master planner of attempting to poison Bhima during the childhood, conspiring to burn the Pandavas in the Lakshagriha, right, in the wax house. He is killed on the 18th day of Kurukshetra. Sahadeva kills Shakuni in a one-on-one duo. That is the way that the war goes, but that is the way the tale goes. So the purpose of telling all these characters is to inspire the listeners to note that each and every character that we spoke about, not just the ones that we have spoken, but every named character in Mahabharata has a very deep spiritual meaning. And when you reflect it upon yourself, you will see those traits in you as well, be it in the Dharma side or in the Adharma side. The purpose of bringing it to you is to inspire you to take a moment or two from whenever possible throughout your lifetime to study some of these characters, understand specifically from the dialogues that they have spoken, go into the words, and given today's resources, right, earlier before this internet days it was not available, but now we have enough resources where each and every character can be studied, right? I'm blessed for the fact that I was able to study several hundred, I would say about 200 or 300 people I have studied, not extensively, in the sense at least to some gist, right, to understand. The objective will always be to identify your personality and see the ups and downs that goes into you, which will eventually come to a point where it will bring about a great liberation of dissociating yourself from your own manaha, right? And that is the stage that we want to really move on to. And for that, all these stories are very essential. There have been people who have asked me, why is Mahabharata? Mahabharata, by and large, is the biggest ever created text in the world to date, with 125,000 verses. It is amazingly large. Why is that it is all needed? Why are these stories so important? The stories are not, but each and every character is. And to identify that character, these stories play a supporting role. So the purpose of getting into this kind of storylines, which is not what Bhagavad Gita is all about. As I said, Bhagavad Gita actually starts with the second chapter, 11th shloka. The Bhashyam starts at second chapter, 10th shloka. Right? But till that time, we will try to touch upon various things which will eventually inspire you for doing that introspection. And that is the objective that we are trying to go towards, touching upon all these things. Moving on to the next shloka, shloka number 10. Aparyaptam tadasmakam balam bhishmabhirakshitam paryaptam tvidame balam bhishmabhirakshitam. Here, aparyaptam means not sufficient. Tat asmakam, that of ours. Balam, the strength. Bhishma, Bhishma was the commander-in-chief. So the Bhishma protected army is not paryaptam, is not sufficient. Abhirakshitam is protected, perfectly protected. However, paryaptam, sufficient or ample to, here it's used as a conjunction, but idam etesham, all this of the Pandava army, balam, the strength, which is protected by Bhima, Bhima abhirakshitam. A very simple shloka. The value is again going back to the Ahambhava of Duryodhana, which also led to fear, something that we touched upon at that time. So this Mamakaram and Ahambhavam, when they influence your mind, it always leads to uncertainties and doubtfulness. So when you are not confident in your action, as I said, it is a clear indication that somewhere this Ahambhava or the Mamakara is somehow projecting out of you. That is a place where we can look for course correction. The problem is it will create doubtfulness and it will not make you steady in anything that you want to execute. After execution also, it will lead to some kind of uncertainty. It is not bad, right? You need to understand such a state should not put you down psychologically. If it does, it means this spiritual class is of no use. As simple as that. The objective is when this happens, you need to understand from a guru point of view also, it happens to me. Right? So it is not unusual. It is a very natural thing for such unsteadiness to develop in somebody. The moment it develops, we being able to start introspection and identify where and how my mamakaram or my ahambhavam is manifesting is the maturity that it is trying to bring to you. So it is a positive sign when you experience it, and it is very supportive sign. It makes you better when you start exercising on it. So remember that. We spoke about the subjective and the objective look. The karma, we say about drishta phalam and adrishta phalam. Now, the drishta phalam is, now for example, I am moving my mouse, right? The pointer moves. That is a drishta phalam. It is very physical in nature, or even on the emotional side, so on, whatever it is. When you immediately experience something, for an action, there is an output. That output is called as drishta phalam. But in the same action, there is an attitude that is packed in you as well. This happens in the sukshma layer, in the subtle layer. That manifests as papam and punyam, and the papam is discharged by the pains that you suffer or by the sufferings that you experience, and the punya is by the pleasures that you encounter. So that we need to also understand. Suffering a pain or enjoying a pleasure is not out of mamakaram or ahambhavam, right? It is the action when you are uncertain about it, or when you have the vikshepam, what do you say, the unsettled nature of your manaha in you, that is when the mamakaram and ahambhavam we are talking about. There are people who misunderstand it to be the suffering that we have, the problems that we are facing, or the pleasures that we are getting, right? The pleasures are the papam, or the sufferings are the fruits of an action. That fruits of an action don't even bother. It is something that we will deal about it as we go into Bhagavad Gita more. Here, the thing that we need to be able to separate, dissect properly is performing an action, and after performing the action, feeling unsettled about the action performed. That is what we need to look at for the proprietorship or the ahambhava, mamakaram and ahambhava. Not the karma phalam as in how I experience. So just wanted to ensure that the clarification is also provided. Let us look at the Duryodhan's army. Duryodhan's army was 11 Akshuhunis strong. How big was Pandavas? 7. So he was having 4 Akshuhini more. And yet he was saying he is not feeling comfortable. This is the fruit of the sins committed by him. This is the reflection of the ahambhava or the proprietorship, that is mamakaratvam, that he is carrying in you, carrying in him. He was considered one of the best fighters, right? Lord Krishna's brother, Balarama. Duryodhan was his pet, actually. Balarama is the one who would kind of immediately come to even fight with Bhima when Bhima downs Duryodhan by hitting against the rule of the mace fight. Right. So uh, these are all stories that we have seen. But despite being such a strong person, he was still not very confident about his own army because of the adharma that was on his side. Earlier, I had written about the dharma and adharma, but then I moved this particular chapter to earlier chapter, and we have discussed about the dharma and adharma. So I will skip this section and go on to some of the scriptures around the dharma. Right? Apastambha Dharma Sutra. Right? This is one thing which is a very important text when it comes to Dharma Shastra. This comes as part of the Krishna Yajurveda. Here the focus is on the personal conduct, the marriage rituals, the dietary rules, right, etc. There are various things about dharma that it speaks about. There is another important text called as Gautama Dharma Sutra. This is again an independent text. This is not part of any Veda. There are some who associate it with Samaveda, but it is not, is the way that our tradition sees. Right? It is not part of the original Samavedic text, if in case you go into available text, right? It is only seen as a separate text by itself, but there are Samavedic schools who consider it part of theirs, right? Here, the Varnashrama classifications are there, right? It is kind of, you know, the, uh, the root for Manusmriti is the way also we can see. Right. So there are lots of things in terms of this Gautama Dharma Sutra is the ideal one to read about what are all the, if I have made a mistake, it's called as Prayaschitta Karma. right? If you want to study more about it, Gautama Dharma Sutra can be considered one, right? The Dharmartha Kama Moksham, the four Purusharthas are dealt with in a great detail in this book. Bodhayana Dharma Sutra. This comes as part of Krishna Yajurveda. This is known for its detailed treatments of rituals, right? Particularly those related to sacrifices, right? Be it goat or be it human or whatever it is, right? So those kind of sacrifices I'm talking about. There are guidelines in terms of inheritance, purity, penance, and so on and so forth, which is again Bodhayana Dharma Sutra. Vasishta Dharma Sutra, right? This is about the duties of the kings. The Artha Shastra, the foundation for the Artha Shastra, can be seen in the Vasishta Dharma Sutra. Jaimini's Purva Mimamsa Sutra, right? This is the most famous of it. This is the one that starts like, similar to Brahma Sutra. Jaimini is a student of Veda Vyasa. After all this compilation, Veda Vyasa takes up the task of writing about the Vedanta, which is called as Brahma Sutra. It starts as Athato Brahma Jignasa. Jaimini's Purva Mimamsa Sutra, it starts as Athato Dharma Jignasa. And there are people who put a small s before the Dharma and even call it as Adharma Jignasa. So this one is also a very, very large text again, right? And it contains a lot about the Dharma, right? Niyama Vidhi, Apurva Vidhi, right? Lot of it are there. The intent behind this presentation was, when I was talking about Dharma, I wanted to introduce Dharma in this place. But because the questions had come from you, we dealt with Dharma earlier. So it is a continuation for this text. And I realized that I had not told about these books and introduced them to you. In case you are interested in knowing any of them, you can always look into it and find more details. I haven't read all of them. I have at least touched upon Jaimini's Purva Mimamsa Sutra, right? But the others are very, very generic kind of knowledge is what I have. But if you do have questions, I can always go back, find out more details, and provide you the answers. Going into the 11th shloka. अयनेषु च सर्वेषु यथा भागमवस्थिता भीष्ममेवाभिरक्षन्तु भवन्तः सर्व एव हि. So in this shloka, so what has happened is, the moment he said aparyaptam, etc., his mind being unsettled was observed. So in this shloka, now he is telling, Duryodhan is telling Dronacharya that, everyone should stay on their specific place assigned, and their main goal must be to protect Bhishma, because they know that if Bhishma is there, the victory is on their side. It is that kind of a personality Bhishma was. So given that, he started kind of blabbering, is the way that I would put it. But going into the shloka, ayaneshu, contextually, within the divisions of the army, the formations, you are supposed to be in those specific ayan, on that specific path. Ayanam, Ramayanam, Uttarayanam, the path. Ayaneshu is basically telling, in terms of Air Force, I would say the flight path, based on what has been defined path, etc., you have to follow that kind of a set. Cha sarveshu, by all of us, from everywhere and in all sides of it. Yatha bhagam, as assigned. That is the most important thing, and that is important discipline in military warfare. I'm sure Prabhakar knows it, right? Where we should not, it is not like the other side is protected or not protected. That is not your concern at all. Your concern is to be looking into your side. That is what it means here, right? Bhishmam eva abhirakshantu. You should protect Bhishma. You should In this Abhirakshan too, though it actually means protect, it means to extend their support or follow the commands of or the directions of is the way that it should be contextually seen. Bhavantah, which is you, sarva evahi, all certainly indeed. Right. So not just what do you say, everyone, even Dronacharya. So everyone should have that kind of a thought, is the way that he puts it. Now, the first thing is, we have created the strategy before we came to the war front, right? So people, for such a large army, they should know where and what they are supposed to be doing, etc. And that cannot be discussed in front of Dronacharya when all the army is already in its place. Right. So here, Duryodhan is basically feeling uncomfortable. He is lacking the confidence. So, as a value, we look at the leadership. Like a good leader establishes a plan before engaging in an action. At the time of action, there can be only specific set directions. Right, plan A, plan B, kind of setting directions is the only thing. You are more action oriented, not plan oriented. We must have a maturity in terms of differentiating between plan and execution. The first weakness that Duryodhan expresses is missing this. The second thing is, now he's trying to establish his superiority. Remember, he is the king. In the absence of Dhritarashtra, he is the king. For example, Yudhishthir is the king from the Pandava side. But who is the commander in chief? It is Bhima. Right. So, not even Bhima, it is actually, what is it? Drishtadyumna, right? Um, Yeah, I think Drishtadhyumna. Right. So I'll have to check that name again. Yeah, it is Drishtadhyumna, I think. Yeah. But from his point of view, it is Bhima. Anyway, but the thing is, the king is not the commander in chief. That is the main point. Here, because he wants to establish his superiority, that is another reason why he is trying to call out. Again, interpretation, nowhere it is mentioned. Right. There are traditional schools which analyze the situation and they come out with these observations. Right. When a person holds a title but not the position, this happens. Right. I can be given a title, but I don't hold that position. I may not be even given a title, but I hold that position. There is a huge difference between the two. Right. Holding that position, Duryodhan was not able to do. He had a title because he was the crown prince, but he was not holding or assuming the position of a king. The weakness 3 is having a feeling that should Bhishma Pitama fall, Kauravas will lose. At this point, we will take a quick summary of what is a good leadership, looking at what is defined in the Shastra, giving the example of Simha, lion. A lion is characterized by some of the key words. Mahakaya, great bodied. Body is not physically big or admirable, right? Mahakaya is bodily, he is very strong in the sense the energy coefficient of that body is high. The second is Shakti Kantaha, having a very powerful neck, right? Here again, in Air Force, we used to say, hold your neck high, feel your collar, right? That feeling the tall, that is the actual thing when we talk about Shakti Kantaha. Then Veerathvam, courage or valor, being fearless to face any challenge head on. Ati Darpaha, pride or majesty, right? You should have it. As a Kshatriya, it should automatically come into you. It should be there. It should just not fall into the Adharma side. Swa Mriga Nishtha, right? A lion hunts only its chosen prey, right? Means it is not going to, just because you are walking around, it will not come and attack you. Other animals might, a tiger might, or, a lion will attack only its chosen prey. That is said. I don't know how true it is, but that is one of the characteristic of a lion defined in the Shastras. Prakramaha, daring or boldness, right? Again, this is the characteristic of a lion defined. Balam, that we know. Strengths are extremely, the strength is amazing. All the cats, in fact, lion, cheetah, or tiger, that we have seen how strong they are, particularly with twice the body weight. Also, it can very easily drag it to its place after its hunt. That is the kind of strength that we are talking about. So very physical as well as the inner strength is acute, is amazing. Swadhinata, independence, right? It doesn't rely on anybody. It will work as a team to hunt. The teamwork is not lost, but it will be independent. It will be self-reliant. That is the characteristic that is expressed by lion. Nayakatvam. Nayakatvam is leadership, right? It's considered the king of the jungle. It is, I do not know how true it is with respect to those who are dealing in forest, but we have seen, and everyone calls lion to be the king of the forest. So maybe that it is there, that nayakatvam, that leadership quality should be there. Shauryam, heroism, fearlessness. Then dhairyam. This dhairyam is seen more from the point of view of patience, right? There, what do you say? In the common sense, dhairyam is used for, courage. But in this place, within the Shastra, the dhairyam is used in terms of the patience, their calculated ability to wait and so on. Abhayaha is fearlessness. Dhvani is the voice. All these are considered to be important characteristic of a lion, of a leader. So you can take this and check on your own self to see what are all the places and how we can make or tune ourselves to become a better leader. Do not try to apply everything on the same day. A sudden change is not going to be a good sign of a leader. So we have to observe the dhairyam, in this case, the patience, to be able to evolve and slowly bring about a change, which will establish your leadership position while not compromising on the others becoming uncomfortable with the change that you display. So at this point, we will take a break, and this is just about the Pandavas, the niceties of Pandavas, accepting the circumstances, keeping their focus, being content with what they have, the capabilities, constantly working to improve the capability. These are all the traits of Pandavas, which also supports the same leadership position that we were talking about. So just wanted to touch upon that and then move on to the 12th shloka, which we will do in our next class. I'm sorry, I think I have shot it over by 3 minutes, but I'm definitely open for questions. So, Prabhakar.
So, my understanding earlier till this, uh, Mamakara is kind of empathy or affection is what I understood earlier. But here, when this is sounded along with Ahamkara, so how do we differentiate Mamakara and Ahamkara? And good to know that Ahamkara and Ahambhava are different.
Are
I just
different.
want to
Correct, yeah.
Ahamkara and Mamakara. Mamakara, I mean,
Ma
at least from the Telugu side of it,
uh,
Mamakaram is kind of affection or pasam or Affection or
I understand.
sympathy.
Got it. That is, again, it's a very linguistic side, right? So how they have
Hmm,
used it, it is more linguistic. But mamakaratvam in uh, Sanskrit is very, very clearly that proprietorship that I develop into you. There are two aspects that we generally speak about. One is, I am the greatest. I can do it, right?
hmm,
These kind of expressions, they are ahambhava, expressions of ahambhavam. I
hmm,
expressing me as I. That is what is ahambhavam. Mama means mine, right? So when this mamakaratvam is being spoken, whatever I say my, this belongs to me. This is my computer. This is my house. This is uh, my capability, or this is my opportunity, my chance. When I get into that, that is called as mamakaratvam. Whatever you associate my with will fall within the mamakaram, and whatever you associate the I with will fall within the ahambhavam or ahankaram. The only exception to this is aham brahmasmi, where aham brahmasmi is not an ahambhavam. It is not a statement, or it is more of a realization that we are talking about. So aham brahmasmi is not considered to be so, because aham brahmasmi will become meaningless if the aham is not Brahman, is not entirety. So that one apart. But coming back to the mamakaram, right? I think it is more used from a linguistic perspective. I'm not very good with Telugu, right? But I can definitely check and get back to you in terms of how it has been derived in Telugu. But
hmm,
in terms of Sanskrit, this is purely from mama. Mama is mine, right?
hmm.
It is mine kind of a expression. And because it originates from that, it is called as mamakara.
So one that brings me to another term. Aham Brahmas. Is it a total submission statement, or it is like an equity statement? I am one with God, or I am surrendering to God.
Now, aham brahmasmi is neither of them,
Oh,
right? When I say I am one with God, even here, I and God are separated.
okay.
Aham Brahmaha Asmi. Asmi is I am. That am you are adding,
Oh,
right? That
uh,
am,
uh,
right? I am Naresh. Like that, Aham Brahmasmi. Asmi makes it I am the Brahman, right? So here it is not I am the Brahman.
hmm, hmm,
If you do that, you have already split it. That there is something called as Brahman and I
hmm,
have become the Brahman.
hmm,
Right?
hmm,
I am one with the Brahman. You have split it.
hmm, hmm, hmm,
When I say I am Brahman, right?
hmm,
I am with Naresh is not I am going to say. I am Naresh is I am Naresh. Similarly,
hmm, hmm,
Am Brahmasmi is
hmm.
I am Brahman.
Oh,
Right? And here we need to understand that without it is like E is equal to MC square. If you don't know
hmm,
I, if you don't know Yam, and if you don't
hmm,
know Brahman, then you are not I am Aham Brahmasmi. You should
hmm,
be in all the three, aware of all the three, and be all
hmm.
the three for you to be Aham Brahmasmi. So that is called as liberation, that is called as moksha. We will talk a lot about this concept in a step by step way throughout Bhagavad Gita.
Awesome, awesome, awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Feeling blessed, Naresh. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Shubhaji has joined, so let me just check back with Shubha.
Yeah,
Uh,
hello. Naresh, I missed a couple of classes. So I had a question about you said you need to know when your aham bhavam is being when you are going into that, and you need to check, and you need to make sure that, how do we do that? Like, I'm hoping, as and when we go into, we will have more examples, like, or is it okay if you can give one example?
Okay, so let us say, for example, uh, good one. This one happens all the time. So I'll give it as a nice example itself. Right. My wife asks me to clean all the vessels and stuff like that. I have completed the vessels cleaning, and I just go to the bedroom. Right. Then I am always thinking, hey, did I do this? Did I not do this? If this kind of thought emanates from you, it means somewhere hidden in me is this Ahambhava or the Mamakaram. Right. If that doesn't happen, then you don't have, or then at that instance, you did not have it, as simple as that. Right. So the example that I have given could be a very easy one to say that, that vikshepam that happens in your heart is one of the indications to look for the presence of ahambhavam. In my example, I can very conveniently say it is not ahambhavam, it is ahampavam. I am so sorry. Right. So uh, it's just a joke here, but the fact is, when that vikshepam in you happens about an action that you have performed, or let us say that my wife says, okay, hey, can you take care of changing this oil and so on and so forth in the car? I take the car and I'm kind of wondering whether it should be done or not done. Man, this guy is telling we can change the brake pad. Maybe I should just call my wife and ask. Right. So, in my execution of the action, I am having, what do you say, uncertainties. Then it means it could be because of ahambhavam or mamakaram. It doesn't mean that if you have such a doubt, you have ahambhavam or mamakaram. There is a possibility that it can exist.
That's why I'm confused, Nareshi, because I could be doubting my action because I'm not experienced in this, or I could be doubting my action because I'm not confident in what I'm doing, right?
Correct.
But it might not be that it is ahambhavam.
It is absolutely, yeah, I said it could be. I didn't say there is. It will be worth to check within yourself. See, as I said, when my wife is going to ask, hey, you did not do this particular thing. I asked you to do, you forgot to do this. When she says this, right, this is not because of our ahambhavam or mamakaram that this has happened. My point is to say, when a vikshepam in the mind happens, there is a possibility it could be because of ahambhavam or mamakaram. Let me put it this way. I'm working in an office, right? I'm the manager and I have got this particular team and my boss is asking me to do this, right? Now, I am executing it. Every time I execute, my boss is kind of always coming down on me, not being supportive, etc., etc. Then I feel very unsettled about my boss. Now, this doesn't mean you have ahankara or mamakara. On the other hand, your boss is a very supportive boss, and you have been assigned a task, and yet you have that particular vikshepam in you. Then you can doubt, you can be more you can think through to say, is it just my ahambhava? Is it just my mamakaram? Is it just like, hey, man, I should try to benefit from this? Okay, this is a great project. If I do this, I will get an extra increment. Is there something else which is driving me to become unstable? A person who has confidence and going through will not feel unstable. And that too, particularly when you have a clearly supporting boss. If it is a politically challenged boss kind of a scenario, then this may not apply to you at all. But when you have a very supportive environment, yet whenever you are being given a particular project, you are not feeling comfortable about taking it on, then that could be because of some hidden Mamakara, Ahambhava, uh, what do you say, combination. It is just a means.
Okay, thank you, Nash. I think this example, I think helps.
Yeah, but again, don't think that if you have that vikshepam, it is because of ahambhavam. Ahambhavam could be a chance. The second one is when you start
Okay.
doing the meditation, when we go to the sixth chapter, we will talk about how the meditation should evolve into a place where your focus should be like a jyoti, like a light, right? Oil lamp light, right? Which is steady. If it doesn't have air, the light will die. Even with slightest of the movement of air, the jyoti will shake, flicker. Means a little bit. It may not flicker bad, but it will shake. So holding it steady is the example that Bhagavan will say. At that time, we will try to go a little more deep into furthermore analysis of it. But for today, I think it is just to understand that, hey, these two are the seed for Adharma. And when we look into this particular seed, remember that if you want to escape, you want to go to the root cause. And that root cause, we will be addressing it. We will see a lot about it in second chapter itself, actually.
Okay, thank you, Nareshji. That helps.
Absolutely. Okay. Well,
Nareshji, how do we get to these recordings in YouTube? Like if I click on one of them, then I have to like look for, or is there a easy way?
there is an easy way, which is called as the playlist.
Subscribe.
I have
Playlist.
created a playlist.
Oh, okay.
Right. So, but what I can do is I can share the link with you, and you can use that playlist as well.
Awesome. Yeah,
I
thank
don't,
you, Naresh.
uh, right. I don't know, Prabha, is there any other way that
You,
everybody can look at that
yes, you
playlist?
subscribe to the channel.
Yeah, that's what I want to do, but I think maybe I never got to. I was attending
Open every
fine.
month.
And okay,
You can easily subscribe.
okay,
Ah,
okay,
correct. Yeah, you
Once
can subscribe to
subscribe,
Naresh Srinivasan. Yeah, yeah, yeah. When you
uh,
subscribe
okay.
to Naresh Srinivasan and you go into my, what do you say, you click on the subscription, it will show you playlist and everything. Inside
Oh,
that
okay.
playlist or live, you will see that these recordings are available.
you
One.
start
Yeah.
getting notifications also for the
Oh,
link.
okay, okay. Thank you, thank you. That helps because I'm not. I think I was attending fine, and suddenly, like once in a while, I lose, and then I'm like searching for them. So now I know if I subscribe, then I'll get the playlist.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay, ji. Chalo. We will call it the end today and we will connect again next week. Harihi Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnad Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti